Good afternoon. The shir is for Refuah Shalema for Esther Bas Frida, and also Refuah Shalema for Yudah Chaim ben Esther Sarah Refuah Shalema, Nishmas Chaim ben Rochel, William and Helen, Rochel Bas Yosef, David ben Avraham, Pesha Bela Bas Isidor, Tzvi ben Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Chana Golda Bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Lochel Bas Yosef, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Chaim ben Gedalia, Zamalei ben Moshe, Chaim Elioel ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, and of course Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Leila Nishmatam. Today is Moshe Rabbeinu's Yotzai. Today is Moshe Rabbeinu's Yotzai, Zion Od, Leila Nishmas, Moshe ben Amram. Moshe ben Amram. Yocheved. Leila Nishmas, Moshe ben Amram Yocheved. It's also his birthday, that's right. It's also his birthday, Nachon? Now, of all the accolades that the Torah could describe Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Rabbi, Doctor, PhD, Rav Agon, the greatest Navi that ever lived. The Torah chooses Ish Moshe Anav Me'od Mikol Adam. In Parshat Bahaloischa, which title does God give him that stands out of all the others? Anav.
Humble.
Anav. Now what does Anav mean?
Modest. Humble.
Let's see what Rashi says. Good. Rashi says, Shafal v'savlan. Humble and patient. Now, even though Moshe was not a doctor, Yosef, he had a lot of patience. To live in Israel, you have to have a lot of patience. God is always testing us, Abraham, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu, Anav, Shafal, v'Savlan. Humble and what? And very, very patient. Savlanut. That's the name of the game. Today we'll be speaking about Parshat Tetzaveh and of course Megillat Esther, and we'll see how they fit in. How they fit in. This week is Parshat Tetzaveh. This is Shmos 27 verse 20, Parshat Tetzaveh. There are books here if you want to look in. Now it's strange that this Parsha is the only one that doesn't have Moshe Rabbeinu's name after he was born. Obviously in Bereshit you couldn't have Moshe Rabbeinu's name, because he wasn't born. But after Moshe Rabbeinu was born, after Sefer Shemot, every parsha in the Torah has his name except this one. So let's think why. Exodus 27, Parshat Tetzaveh, Shmos 27:20. It doesn't have his name. Now again, this parsha is always read around Purim time.
And his birthday.
Hashem's name.
Oh, Sarah's ahead of me. Esther doesn't contain God's name. This parsha doesn't contain Moshe's name. Moshe read backwards as what? Hashem.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Could that be a coincidence, Avram? That Parshat Tetzaveh always read around Megillah time. Megillah doesn't have God's name in it, and Parshat Tetzaveh doesn't have Moshe's name in it, and Moshe spelled backwards is Hashem. So that cannot be a coincidence. Moshe hides in the Parsha. God hides in what? In the Megillah. And our job is to what? Uncover them, reveal them. Va'ata tetzaveh, and you shall command the Jewish people. Over and over again, God goes out of his way not to mention whose name? Moshe. And the Megillah, we'll see soon, goes out of her way not to mention God's name. And again, Tetzaveh is always read around Purim time. It's also always read around the week when Moshe dies. So that's perhaps another reason why his name is not here, because this parsha is always read Zion Adar, right? The day that Moshe died, Moshe's name is hidden because he gets taken away during this week. Okay, that's one. Now, if you look at the word,
It also says near to yourself. It does say at least to yourself. Who's he talking about? You know that he's
V'atan you, and over and over it's you. Now look at the first verse. V'atan tzavnei sov yikolech Hashem and zayis zach katit. Katit means crushed. The olive oil has to be crushed to get out the virgin drops. Now look at the word katit. If you don't fasten your seatbelts for this, you might fall off your chair. Rabbi Abraham, katit, says the Balaturim, is an acronym. Kaf tet, yut tet. Kaf tet, kaf taf, tzlicha. Kaf taf and yut taf. You see the word katit in Shmos 27, Pasuk 20 in the Hebrew. The first verse in the Parsha. Shemen zayizach, pure olive oil, katit, crushed. Baal Turim says the word katit can be split into kaf taf and yut taf. Kaf taf is gematria how much? 420. And yut taf is gematria 410. Now what is amazing about that? The second temple was crushed after kaf taf years. Kaf taf is gematria 420. And the first temple was crushed after yut taf. Yut taf is gematria 410. Isn't that a coinky dinky? Katit means crushed. The first temple was crushed after kaf taf, which is gematria 420. That's how long the second temple stood, and then it got crushed. And the first temple was katit after yut taf. Yut taf is gematria 410. After 410 years, the first temple was crushed. After 420 years, the second temple was crushed, and it's alluded to in the word katit, crushed, kaf taf, gematria 420. First temple's destruction after, and yut taf is 410. So, as we look in the book of Tetzaveh, there's a message for Purim here also. Tetzaveh deals about clothing. Do clothes make the man, Avi? Clothes are a symbol to remind us that all of us are Mamlechet Kohanim, right? God says at Mount Sinai, you are all Mamlechet Kohanim. You're all a kingdom of priests. So the Big Day Kahuna reminds us that all of us are God's priests in a way, and we all have to dress properly. B'tzniut. Now, clothes are so important, we make a bracha every morning for clothes. Isn't that amazing? We make a bracha for clothes. Why is clothes so important that we make a bracha every morning? Malbish harum, and God, you clothe the naked. How come animals don't need clothes? You ever see Elsie the cow in a dress?
Donald Duck doesn't wear pants.
Elmer the bull doesn't wear pants. Remember Elmer the bull?
We just had the art.
They banned Donald Duck in Iran for that reason.
Why do animals have no clothes? And why do people have clothes?
Because they have a neshama behemoth, they can't see.
More than that. By an animal, what you see is what you get. There's nothing behind the skin. There's no reason to cover up. What you see is what you get. A human being, why is a human being's skin called hide? I'll tan your hide. Remember that? I'll tan your hide. What has skin got to do with hide? The answer is, skin hides who I am. I am not my body, I'm a godly soul. So clothes are so important, they remind me that just like clothes are not me, it's only what a covering, so too my skin. My body is not me, it only hides who I am. Who am I? I'm a soul, man. There's no other reason why you look in the dictionary, skin, the definition they give, hide. Because skin hides who I am. Beauty's only skin deep. I've got you under my skin. Who's under my skin? My godly soul. Purim, it ties in with Purim. The mask, don't be fooled by my mask, by my body, by my skin. Look beneath the mask. Purim reminds us that we're all wearing a mask in this world. All of us are wearing a mask. Our body masks who we are. The Tzelem Elohim, the Chelik Elohai Mimal, the godly soul. And therefore, Dr. Hackett told me last week that the English word person comes from the Latin persona, which means mask. Why is a person called a mask? Because the person masks who he is. The neshama. And therefore in Hebrew, Latin comes from Hebrew. Persona, partzuf in Hebrew. Partzuf means my face that masks who I am. I'm a neshamani, a holy soul. So it fits in, Sarah, with the Purim theme. This Pasha always comes out the week of Purim. Clothes, my body is only clothes that masks who I am. Like the mask is not me, my body is not me. Look behind the mask. Don't be fooled by the masquerade. Yes?
So there's a blessing when someone sees a beautiful person.
Right.
There's a blessing when they see somebody who's not so beautiful. What is
You don't make that blessing in front of a guy that's not beautiful. You'll hurt his feelings. Say it privately.
Sure.
You're right. When you see a beautiful creature or a beautiful person, you make a special blessing.
So when a person is, the Torah tells us that so-and-so was pretty, so-and-so was beautiful. What does this...
Oh,
what does this
the man hit a home run.
inside about the person inside?
Evan Ezra. His name is Evan Ezra. He hit a home run. He asked the Vilna Gaon's kasha. Vilna Gaon. Every Friday night we sing Eishes Chayil Miyimtza da da da. I won't give up my day job, don't worry. It's Proverbs 31. And King Solomon says, Sheker achein vehevel hayofi isha yirat Hashem hititalal. That physical beauty is vain and meaningless. So says King Solomon in Proverbs. So the Vilna Gaon asked Evan Ezra's question. Or was it the other way around? You asked this question. If physical beauty is vain, meaningless, and worth zero, as Solomon says, then how come the Holy Torah goes out of her way to describe the physical beauty of Sarah, Esther, Rachel, Rivka, and even Leah? Eina Leah Rakot, she had beautiful eyes. People make a mistake. Rakot doesn't mean weak. You can't trust the English. She had beautiful eyes.
Well, what does that say about...
So why? So the Vilna Gaon is saying, so if physical beauty is meaningless and worthless, why does the Holy Torah spend so many psukim describing the physical beauty of the mamas?
Because of
Why?
inside too.
So Sarah gave the answer. The Vilna Gaon says you have to read the rest of the verse. When when all a woman has is physical beauty, there's nothing behind, it's an empty dress. What you see is what you get. There's no spirituality there. Of course, it's physical beauty on its own is meaningless, because after a while it wears up. But Isha Yirat, but look at the end of the verse, says the Vilna Gaon. Isha Yirat Hashem, if a beautiful woman is also God-fearing, he titalal on what? She's praised for what? For physical beauty. People sing it 70 years of their life, Friday night, they don't know what they're singing, says the Vilna Gaon. If all a woman has is physical beauty, it's empty and vain, because it doesn't last, it wears out. But Isha Yirat Hashem. But if a beautiful woman is also God-fearing, then the end of the verse says, then she's praised for what?
Beauty.
Her physical beauty as well. Because she uses her physical beauty to what? To kiruv. Right? Okay. So now the Torah describes all of the big day kahuna over here, and it ties in what? Clothing, with the theme of Purim, the mask. All of us are wearing a mask, whether we know it or not. But of course, it's much more than that. If you look at another tie-in between the Parsha and Purim, doesn't seem to be any tie-in. If you look at Shemot 29:1, Shemot 29:1, Perek Chavtes Aleph. This is the thing that you shall do. God tells Moshe, tell the Kohanim, your brother, to inaugurate the temple, take a pot, the Mishkan, Par Echad. So Aaron was commanded to inaugurate the Mishkan with what? With a bull. Rashi asked, why not a turkey? This is no bull. Rashi is asking, a turkey has less cholesterol. Why was Aaron commanded to inaugurate the Mishkan with a bull? Says Rashi, Lechaper amasa egel shehu par. since Aaron and the Jewish people sinned with what? With the calf. So therefore we take a bull. What's a bull? The father of the calf. So the way you sin is the way you repair the damage. This ties in with Purim. Why do we have a mitzvah to feast on Purim with wine and go to town? Judaism is against getting drunk. Judaism is against getting drunk, Sarah. Look what happened to Lot when he got drunk. Look what happened to Noach. So why is there a mitzvah to get drunk on Purim? It's very bizarre. The answer is, we sinned at the drunken party by Achashverosh. We went to a drunken orgy party by Achashverosh, which were not to go. The food was not kosher, and the entertainment certainly was not kosher. So what's the tikkun, Sarah? We have a kosher party. We sinned with wine and a feast by going to the drunken orgy of Achashverosh. So now, God says, take wine and do it my way. The same theme of the par. Why God commanded Aaron to take a bull, not a turkey, to inaugurate the Mishkan. You sinned with the cow family, now take a cow. You sinned with the wine party, now make a kosher wine party. Otherwise, there's no reason why there's a mitzvah to get drunk on Purim. Drunk. We sinned with drunkenness. Now get drunk, l'shem shemayim. God says, take the wine, Masha, and do it my way. Da 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 da. What?
They don't really mean that you should get drunk.
Yes. Look in the Gemara, look in the Shulchan Aruch.
They say you
There's a
really
mitzvah
want
to
that
get drunk
alcohol
until you don't
free.
know between Mordechai and Haman. Okay, so you go to sleep. But there is a mitzvah to drink. Because we sinned with the wine. So now we take wine. That's it. That's the idea in Judaism. The way you mess up is the way you what?
Clean up.
Fix it. Clean up.
Why not a calf instead of a bull? Why would we take a, why don't they?
The father of the bull. That's no bull. I mean the father of the calf.
Yeah, but still.
L'chapra masa egel shehu par.
Wouldn't it make more sense to take the actual calf than the bull? Why are you?
Rashi said that the calf was a baby bull.
We know that. But
Baby bull, so you take a bull.
So why not take a baby calf?
I don't check the age of Elmer the bull. How old is he? It's the same family, right?
All sacrifices a year old.
I don't know. But anyway, this is the idea. We sinned, the same idea. We sinned with a golden calf. God says make golden kruvim. God needs golden statues in the Holy of Holies, no less. The golden lovebirds. Come on. We sinned with a golden statue. Now God says take a golden statue and do it my way. Da, 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 da. Pretty amazing. You see that throughout Judaism. But it gets even better. Parshat Tetzaveh is always read the week of Purim time, and there's a clear reference to Purim in the Parsha, which it should be impossible because the Purim story happened centuries after what?
Torah.
The Purim story happened centuries after Torah was given. How many centuries? 9 centuries. How much is 33 minus 24? 9 centuries later. So go, how could Purim be in the Parsha? And the Parsha is always read Purim time. Fasten your seatbelt. It's kedai to look in if you have a good book. It's the very last verse in the Parsha's Tetzaveh.
Verse 10.
The very last verse. Exodus 30 verse 10. If you don't fasten your seatbelts in the Hebrew, Masha, you might fall off your chair. Exodus 30 verse 10. The very last pasuk. V'chiper Aaron al karnosav. Aaron shall make atonement on the horns of the altar. Achas bashana. Once a year. When is he talking about that? When did they smear blood on the golden altar? When? Yom Kippur. Achas bashana. Once a year. Midam chatos. What's the next word? Avraham. Read the next word slowly, please.
English?
In Hebrew. Achas bashana bidam chatas. What's the next word? Ha-Kippurim. Ha-Kippurim. The Zohar says that Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim. Say what? A day like Purim. And then it says again, Achas bashana, once a year. Yichapra olav l'dorotechem. Now I'm confused. You say already you get kapara once a year. It's talking about Yom Kippur. So why does the Torah repeat Achas bashana again after the word Kippurim? You already told me we get kapara the Day of Atonement. Achas bashana. Then the Torah says the word HaKippurim, which the Zohar says means a day like Purim. And then it says again what? Achas bashana. Seems to be redundant. Once a year, but it doesn't say twice once a year. Why? And it says again after the word Kippurim, Achas bashana yechap, you get again kapara. Says the Ari HaKadosh, based on the Zohar. We get kapara once a year and once a year, Avi. Once a year on Yom Kippur and once a year on Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim, now the Torah never calls it Yom Kippur, that's Yiddish. The Torah always says Yom Kippurim, which the Zohar says a day like Purim. So therefore the Torah says the word Achas Bashana twice, because one day we get kapara is Yom Kippur, and the other day we get kapara is what? Purim. Otherwise, there's no reason to write the word Achas Bashana twice after the word Kippurim. Again, Achas Bashana Yechaper all of the Dorotechem. Now, the Riyah goes further. He says, incredible. The Dorotechem throughout the generations. The temple service is not throughout the generations. We haven't got a temple service in close to 2,000 years. But Purim is L'Dorotechem. Purim is in every generation. So the Riyah Kodesh is telling us that this pasuk, in this Parshat, which is always read Purim time, alludes to the Purim, that just like Yom Kippur is a day of atonement, so is Purim, which seems to be wild. But let's think. Both days are days of Matan Torah. When did we get the second Luchos, Evelyn? On Yom Kippur. When did the Jews accept the Torah again lovingly and willingly? When? On Purim. On Purim. Both have an aspect of what? Of Kabbalah Satorah. And let's think. On Yom Kippur, all of us are on trial for our lives. Who will live and who will die? On Purim, weren't we all on trial for our lives? Didn't Haman have our lives in the balance? So just like Yom Kippur, we were what? Judged. Life and death. So on Purim, we were also judged. Life and death. Our lives were hanging in the balance. By Haman. Haman's decree. But it's a judgment day. So just like God judged at Yom Kippur, he judged on Purim to save us. Like he judges on Yom Kippur to save us. Who will live and who will die. That's just amazing that the Zohar would call Yom Kippurim, Yom Kippur is a day like Purim. So the Riyah Kodesh explains. The Mishnah says in Yuma that Yom Kippur only atones for sins between what? Man and God. Sins between man and man, Yom Kippur doesn't atone. Which does atone? Purim. And we know a sin between man and man is worse, because when you sin against God, you sin against God. When you sin against a fellow Jew, it's a twofer. You're sinning against him and his godly soul. You're sinning against him and it's Tzelem Elohim. So a sin between man and a fellow Jew is worse. You're offending him and his neshama and his Tzelem Elohim and his Chelik L'Haim Yimal. So therefore, the Riyah Kodesh says your Purim is even greater. Yom Kippur, you only get kapara between man and God. But sins between man and man, which are worse, that you have to wait to Purim. Through Mishloach Manos and the Suda, the good feeling, you get kapara between man and a fellow man, which Yom Kippur doesn't accomplish. Yom Kippur is all about you and God. Purim is all about you and your fellow Jew, which is a twofer. Because the Baal Tanya says there's a mitzvah to love God. How do you love God? Love your fellow Jew. He is just like you. So Baal Tanya says, how do you love God? By loving a fellow Jew. So by loving a fellow Jew and showing him kindness, Yosef, it's a twofer. Therefore, mitzvahs between man and man are greater. It's 2 for 1. So every time you do a favor for a fellow Jew, you're also loving what? Hashem. Baal Tanya said that. You can take it to the bank, Baal Tanya.
Can I ask a question?
Yes?
How do you fix the problem you did to a fellow Jew on Purim? How does that mechaper all
Well, you wronged him, so you apologizing. A nice basket, a nice Mishlach Manos basket.
What if you don't know who it was? Like you stole something 10 years ago and you don't even...
So that's a separate issue. That has a whole shear on its own. How do you make up for that? But we're talking of someone you know that you wronged. You know that you're wrong. So come with a nice Mishlach Manos basket. Ding dong. That's the greatest kapara. You wronged him, you had a fight, you ring his bell with a nice mashlachmanos. That's the way to do kapara between Odom and Chaveiro. And the Riyah Kodesh goes even further. He says, on Yom Kippur, you're tired, you're hungry, you're fasting, right? You're too tired to sin. And who'd want to sin with you anyway? You don't smell so good.
Well,
Right? No deodorant, can't even wash your mouth out. Who'd want to sin with you anyway? And you have no koyach to sin. So on Yom Kippur, you're serving God with your neshama. On Purim, you're serving God with what? With your guf. You're indulging, and yet you remember you're a loyal Jew. That's more difficult. It's more difficult to serve God with your body on Purim than to serve God with your soul. And therefore, in a way, if Purim is utilized properly, you can reach a higher level of Yom Kippurim, a day like, and you have it right here. And you get kapara both days. It's an open text, the last verse in the Parsha. Otherwise, you shouldn't say once a year twice. And the second time it says once a year, right after the word Kippurim. That cannot be a koinky-dinky. See the Ha-Kippurim, the last verse, Ha-Kippur, day like Purim, Achas Bashana. Again, you get what? You get kapara.
It'd definitely be higher, that's.
Right? It's difficult. It's more difficult to serve God with your body. You agree with me, right, Yosef? To serve God with your body. You're indulging, you let yourself go, and yet you remain loyal to Him. That's more difficult than fasting all day and crying. You have no koyach to sin anyway. Yes?
As the doors said, get me higher, that's for sure.
Get me higher, right? Now, we'll have to talk about the Megillah, of course. In the Megillah, the word machar is repeated a few times. The word machar. She comes to the king, Esther says, to invite Haman, and then she says, Umachar esek kidvar hamelech. And tomorrow, I'll do what the king says. Right? And then it's repeated again, the gamla machar. And Haman repeats it, the gamla machar, I was summoned to Esther, the gamla machar. Why is the word machar repeated in the Haman story? And what's more amazing, it's also repeated in Parshas B'Shalach. In Exodus 17, when Amalek terrorizes us, Moshe tells the Jews, Hilachem be'Amalek machar. What's wrong with today? Why does the word machar crop up in the Megillah a few times, Haman, Amalek, and in Parshas B'Shalach, when the Amalekites attack us, you have the word machar coming up, Hilachem be'Amalek, go to war against Amalek, but what? Tomorrow, Evelyn, what's wrong with today?
it represents the future, sort of.
Okay.
Tomorrow is a broader thing.
So what does Haman say machar? Esther says machar. Moshe says machar. All about Amalek.
17:9.
What's it all about? Amalek represents the Yetzer Hara, the evil incarnation, the Amalek inside of us. We know we should stop speaking Lashon Hara, but the Yetzer Hara says machar.
Do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I know I should quit smoking and get off the schmutz sites, but I'll do it tomorrow. I know I should start my diet. Tomorrow. I should start learning Daf Yomi. Avram, tomorrow. That's the Satan's trap. That's Amalek. Tomorrow, I'll start my diet. When, Golda? I say I'll start my diet when? Tomorrow. But unfortunately, Masha, tomorrow never comes. Therefore, you have the word machar by Amalek in Parshas B'Shalach. You have it repeated numerous times in the Megillah. That's the Yetzer Hara Amalek. Start your diet tomorrow. Stop speaking Lashon Hara, but wait till tomorrow. I have a juicy story to tell, Evelyn. But tomorrow I'll. So that's what the Torah is teaching us over here. That's pretty amazing, huh? Now Purim, it's very strange. In Judaism, the name of the Chag defines what took place. Passover, God passed over, right? Sukkot, God built us huts or magic clouds, right? Hanukkah, we rededicated the Beis Hamikdash. In Yahadut, the name of the Chag defines what took place. Why is the Chag called Purim? Purim means lottery in Persian. I mean, what has lottery in Persian got to do with what? Why is the Chag called lottery? It should be called, I don't know, saved from Holocaust Day. What's the message? Just because Haman called it lottery, because he threw a lottery, he went to kill the Jews, and it came out in the month of Adar. He was happy it came out in Adar because he knew that Moses what? Died. But he didn't know that Moses was also born in Adar. Why didn't he check Google? That's Sunday's talk. Why didn't he check Google? No, not a joke. He knew that he died in Adar. Didn't know he was born in Adar. What? What?
Is HaKippurim the answer? HaKippurim is the
HaKippurim is the day like Purim.
Isn't that the answer to Purim? Why it's named Purim?
Tell me, help me. Oh, Yosef is...
HaKippurim, Yom HaKippurim.
What's the main service of Yom Kippurim?
Atonement.
But how do we get it? Through a lottery. The Kohen had to pick which Soyel Hashem and which goat Lazazel. The Rambam says of all the holy services on Yom Kippur, which was the holiest? The lottery that chose which goat, so long, sucker, over the, and which goat to Hashem. Yom Kippur, the Ikka service was a lottery. The Kohen Gadol threw a lottery, which goat, scapegoat, and which went to Hashem. And Purim, Yom Kippurim, means literally lottery in Persian. So you see what's going on over here? What's going on?
Hashem's finger is in everything.
Ooh.
Hashem's finger is in Purim as well.
The lottery. Looks like a lottery. Which goat goes to Hashem, which goat goes to what? Zazel. It looks like a lottery. The Kohen is playing the game, but we know who's controlling it from the lottery. It's all Hashem. But he makes it look like the Kohen. Kohen goes through the motions, picks out this one for Hashem, this one for Azazel. But we know that's only an illusion, it's a mask. So Haman threw a lottery which month to kill the Jews. So it looks like it came out in Adar, Kawinky Dinky. Moshe Rabbeinu was born the month of Adar. All of life looks like a lottery. Haman wants you to believe, Amalek, that it's all I don't want to say crapshoot, but there is no rhyme or reason. That's an illusion. Who you meet and when you meet and this happened to you and this happened to you and he did this to you. It looks like it's all chance, but that's only a mask. Life looks like a Purim. It looks like a lottery. But God says, peekaboo, don't be fooled by the mask. Look behind the mask. That's why Purim is such a great yontiv. The Kohen's lottery on Yom Kippur looked like a Kawinky Dinky. And Haman coming to power, Esther just happened to win the beauty contest. There were no prettier girls than her. Come on. She happened to win the beauty. And Mordechai had to walk by and hear Bixam Viserys plotting. He couldn't walk by before and after. It all looks like chance, like lottery. We forget the Purim story. We read it in 45 minutes. But it took 9 years. After Esther won the beauty contest until Haman was swinging from the tree, it took 9 years. It looked like a lottery. Why did I have to win the beauty contest? I'm a nice Beis Yaakov girl, Esther. Why did I have to win the beauty contest to be with that slob? And what's it all about? 9 years later. 9 years later. Oh, why I won the beauty contest. It looked like a Purim, looked like a lottery. It's hard to connect the dots. All of us, whether we know it or not, Yosef, are writing a Purim. All of us are writing our own Megillah. All of us in life are writing our own Megillah, whether we know it or not. Hashem, what are you doing to me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I having a bad hair day? Why is he upsetting me? Why is she upsetting me? God says, peekaboo, it's all me. Don't blame your spouse. You want to blame somebody? God says who? Maral said it, don't throw stones at me, don't throw tomatoes at me. The Gemara says, Ish ve'isha shchina b'neihem. Gemara says, the Ish has a Yud, husband. Isha has a hey. The Shekhinah is on. So the Maral says after the chuppah, the Shekhinah doesn't leave. She stays like a meddling mother-in-law. Mother-in-law. The Maral Miprag says this. Shekhinah beinehem, female, she stays in the marriage kaviyachol. And all problems, don't blame your spouse, says the Maral. He is testing you. It's a Purim. Right? Husband and wife, don't blame each other. Blame the third partner, says the Maral. Ish, Yud, Isha, hey. It's all God. It's all God. But he's wearing a mask.
Maybe the two of them should team up against God, you know, two against one.
It's all a Purim. It's all an illusion. It's a game, Evelyn. It's a game. And if you know, it makes it a little bit easier that Hashem is playing hide and seek with us or peekaboo with us. But this is the deep message of what? Of the Purim story. The Yom HaKippurim, the last verse in the Parsha. HaKippurim, Achas Bashana Yechaper. The second Achas Bashana after the word Purim. And the week that's always comes out around Purim. It's amazing how the Parsha seems to what? Allude to Purim. Now in the Megillah. Oh wait, before we get to Megillah, this week is Parsha Zohar. Parsha Zohar. There was a shul of Amaratzim and they didn't know, they saw on the calendar to read Parsha Zohar. So they didn't know. It was a Chelam. What's Parsha Zohar? So the Chelam, a rabbi, says, I know Parsha Zohar, Isha Kitazriya V'Yolda Zohar. Translate. There's a Parsha in the Torah, a woman gives birth, she gives birth to a Zohar. You have to do bris milah. So the Chelam, a rabbi, they asked him, which Parsha, what does Parsha Zohar mean? Zohar means remember, but Zohar also means a boy, a male. So he said, read the Parsha, Isha Kitazriya, a woman who gives birth, the Yolda Zohar. It's a joke. Nobody laughed. Okay.
Sorry.
Change the material.
Change the diskette. Zohar means a male, but Zohar also means what? Remember. And this week we found the connection. In Hebrew, when you have one word with two meanings, they have to what? What does the word male, M-A-L-E, have to do with remember? Same word. Zachor means a male. Zachor means remember. So I think, Ebenezer, you mentioned, didn't you mention early in the week that what? That in Judaism, which tribe you come from depends on the male of the family. So to remember that you're a Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, or Shevet Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Va'asher, to remember which tribe you come from comes from the male. Thank you, my friend. Uriel, oh, okay. But that's what one of my students said. You see, you learn most of the stuff you learn from your students. I asked Uriel the question, and he said, yes. Otherwise, what does male, M-A-L-E, have to do with remember? The same word in Hebrew. So Uriel said that to remember which tribe you come from doesn't depend on the mama. If you're Jewish or not depends on the mama, but which shevet you come from, that depends what? On the male, and therefore. Pretty amazing, huh? So Parsha Zohar. So you read Deuteronomy 25:17. Devarim 25:17. This is a Torah reading, by the way. Reading the Torah on Shabbos and Monday, Thursday is Rabbanon. But reading Parsha Zohar, even ladies have to go to shul this week, Shabbos, and to hear Devarim 25, verse 17. Remember what Amalek did to you on the road when you left Egypt. How they terrorized you. So Rashi wonders, why are they singled out for annihilation more than any other nation? Other nations terrorized us as well. Why only are we commanded to annihilate only Amalek? What about the other anti-Semites? What makes Amalek unique? So one answer is they were the first to terrorize us. The Jews were on a winning streak. Remember, we left Egypt and all the nations melted in fear. They were what? They opened the Pandora's box. The first unprovoked terrorist attack in history was Amalek against us. But Rashi gives another reason, which is not PC, Sarah.
Happenstance.
Why Amalek is singled out for annihilation more than any other nation. Rashi gives an answer which is not PC. Can I read it anyway?
Can I guess? Doesn't Amalek represent all evil?
Rashi, go ahead.
Doesn't Amalek represent all evil? Esau, Yishmael?
No, Amalek is Amalek, right? We have many anti-Semitic nations, but only Amalek we're commanded to exterminate completely. What makes them so despicable? Rashi wants to know. So Rashi says something, you can look it up. The Korcha Baderech, Rashi says, Loshen Keri V'Tuma. Shoy Metama Mishkav Zochur. Before they would murder their victims, they would commit homosexual rape on them. And therefore Rashi says they're singled out to be wiped out. Shoy Metamin B'Mishkav Zochur. Before they killed their victims, they would commit homosexual rape on them. And then Rashi says they would mutilate the bodies. They would cut off the bris milah and throw it heavenwards. In 1967 war on the Golan Heights, Israeli soldiers captured by the Syrians, you can Google it, that's what they did. They raped them, murdered them, and cut off their bris milah. You can Google it. Now you know what we're dealing with?
They said there's no difference.
Amalek. They followed the Rashi script. They raped the soldiers, murdered them, mutilated their bodies by cutting off their Brit Milah, and that's Rashi says why Amalek is singled out to be annihilated more than any other nation. Now, does Amalek exist today? Chaim Brisker says something incredible. He wonders. The Rambam says that the mitzvah to annihilate the 7 nations doesn't exist anymore. Because Sancherev came, Yosef, and mixed up the world. So we don't know who is the 7 nations today. The Torah tells us that a convert from Edom, first few generations, can't marry a born Jewish girl. Does that apply today? A convert from Italy today, Rambam says he can marry what? A Jewish girl right away. Because Sancherev came and mixed up the whole... We don't know who Edom is, we don't know who Canaan is, we don't know who Yevusi are. So therefore, today, these nations don't exist.
Hamas says that he's the candidate.
1 minute. And the mitzvah to annihilate the 7 nations don't apply. But then the Rambam says the mitzvah to what? Destroy Amalek still exists. So Chaim Brisker says, I'm mixed up. The Rambam just told me that what? That they're all mixed up. I'm all mixed up. We don't know who Canaan is and who Edom is. And what? So how come the mitzvah to Amalek, to destroy Amalek still applies today when Sancherev already mixed up the world and we don't know who the nations are? So Chaim Brisker said over 100 years ago, maybe at Ruach HaKodesh, Amalek is not a biological nation because that's mixed up, like the Canaanites. But he says if you know any nation that hates Israel more than they love their own children, any nation like that? Yeah. Their hatred for us is stronger than the love for their own children. The Chaim Brisker 100 years ago, Avram, that's Amalek. Wow. Did he have Ruach HaKodesh? Well done. That's Abu Mamzer and company. Because at the mourning tent, when they send their children to knife us and blow us up, what does the mother and the father say in the mourning tent?
Murder.
No, they say they wish the other children would also murder Jews and get killed, if that's what it takes to murder Jews. That's who we're dealing with. Not a biological nation. The spirit of Amalek, their hatred for us is stronger than the love for their own children. Says Chaim Brisker, that's Amalek.
Yeah.
That's our peace partners. They hate us more, they love their own children. They're willing to sacrifice their own children, what? To murder Jews. That's the Amalek spirit.
So why are we waiting to annihilate?
What? You need to have, we can't do it on our own. You're asking a good question. To answer your question, I will what?
Ask another.
question.
The Haftarah we're going to read this Shabbos. Shaul Amalek was king. The Jewish people were living in the land of Israel hundreds of years. Why didn't anybody go out to destroy Amalek?
After Yehoshua, they settled in. They didn't destroy them.
So the Amalek was bothering us and harassing us all the time. Look in the book of Samuel. Why did Shaul only go? So the Chinuch explains that this mitzvah to eradicate the whole nation depends on a command from a prophet to a king.
That's what I thought.
So even though Shaul Amalek was king, he didn't go until the prophet told him, go now.
So we must have a king.
Right? Go now. You have to have a king and you have to have a prophet. Can't do this on your own. But you have to know the spirit is very much alive. The spirit of Amalek. But therefore, Shaul Amalek, the righteous king, didn't go right away. He was king a couple of years. He didn't go right away because you can't go. First you have to have a king and you have to have a Navi telling you go now. So he botched the job. If he would have done the job, Evelyn Mashiach would have come right then. Mashiach would have come 3,000 years ago. That means no Holocaust, no Chorban Beis HaMikdash. But he felt compassion and mercy. Destroyed the innocent what? Sheep, the innocent children. He had Rahmanis. So God said, don't be more merciful than I am, right? Don't be more religious than Hashem. Hashem gives you a command. A Navi gives you a command speaking in the name of Hashem. You have to do it. You have to do it. But we have to know the spirit of Amalek is very much alive and well today. We cannot act on our own because we need a king and a prophet, but we have to know who we're dealing with and who we're making concessions to. How could you make concessions to a people that hate you more than they love their own children? And that's who we're dealing with. So let's take a look at the Megillah. It's in the back of the blue book, I think. It's the back of the...
Page 1252.
I think it's 1252. Now, if you read the Megillah carefully, you'll see that Achashverosh was engaged in replacement theology. The Catholic Church didn't make it up. They're the new Israel. Replacement theology. If you read the Megillah carefully, you'll see that Achashverosh was trying to replace us and our Beis HaMikdash. What does he call his capital? Look at Pasuk 2. Chapter 1, Pasuk 2. He's sitting b'Shushan HaBira. You see that? Shushan HaBira. So the English translates Shushan, the capital, right? But if you look in Devarim Chavtes, in Chronicles 29, verse 19, David prayed. David was not allowed to build the Beis HaMikdash. He prays in Chronicles 29, verse 19, V'lishlomo b'ni, ten lo v'livnot habira. God, you won't allow me to build the Beis HaMikdash, but allow my son Shlomo livnot habira, to build what? Bira means temple. Shlomo Amelech built the Bira, which is a temple. So here, Kawinky Dinky, he builds his city and he calls it Bira, which is another word, Avram, for temple. Yiddish, Nachashverosh. Didn't he dress up in the big day kahuna? He dressed up, that's one reason we dress up on Purim, masquerading as what? The high priest, Kawinky Dinky, replacement theology. And he took all the kalim of the Beis HaMikdash. Replacement theology. And it's just incredible. Look at Esther 4:11. Look at Esther 4:11. Anybody want to read that? Esther 4:11. Don't all answer at once.
All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces are well aware that if anyone, man or woman, approaches the king in the inner court.
Stop right. Inner court. What does that remind you? The inner court. No one can go in there on pain of death. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, inner court, right? The Chotz HaPanimi, Kodesh HaKadoshim. And look at Esther 6:4. Esther 6:4.
She takes
The
it.
king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just come into the outer
court.
of the palace.
Kuinki Dinki Avi, the Beis HaMikdash has an inner court and an outer court. Gee, I think it's Achashverosh just made it up like that.
Copy.
Huh?
It's a copy.
You look at Ezekiel 42, you'll see those same words by the Bayish Shlishi. Yecheskel 42 uses the same words that Achashverosh uses for his palace. Yecheskel uses for the Bayish Shlishi in Ezekiel 42. What's the meaning of the temple imagery? That what? That he is utilizing for his what? For his palace. What's he saying, Avi? I'm the new temple. I'm your new God. Serve me.
He was counting time.
It's just pretty amazing here. What's going on here? It's a masquerade. He's charading. His palace is masquerading as the temple. And he's masquerading, chas v'sholom, as the Kohen Gadol, dressed in the big day kahuna. It's amazing current events in the Megillah. Today's Haman, Ayatollah Kakemeni, same address, Khomeini. Speaks the same language, right? Same address. Just this week, he threatened to destroy Tel Aviv. Don't you read the paper? Ayatollah Khomeini, Haman, Kowinkidiki, same language, same address, said he's going to destroy Tel Aviv. He has the nuclear bomb already. If we shoot down one more drone, he's going to level Tel Aviv. He's talking like Haman, same address. Pretty amazing. And who's trying to stop him?
What?
Benjamin. Ish Yemini. Mordechai comes from Shevet Benjamin. Benjamin is trying to stop him and they want to bring him down. Masha, Klinky Dinky, Ish Yemini. Mordechai comes from Benjamin. Fighting against Paras. And we have our Benjamin Ben Tayo fighting against what? He awakened the world to the modern day Haman. Right? Obama didn't want to hear it. Nobody wanted to hear it.
You have trouble within.
Right? Pretty amazing here. So you look at that verse. In chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. Ish Yehudi hoya b'shushan abira. Ish Yehudi. Chapter 2, verse 5. Ish Yemini. Ish Yehudi. He was a Jewish man, but he came from Shevet Benjamin. So no matter what tribe you come from, you are called a Yehudi. Because why? He's from Shevet Benjamin, he's called Yehudi. Because when Leah was born, what did she say? Hapam odet Hashem. I'm going to praise God for more than I deserve. Because Yehuda was born. When Yehuda was born. Leah said, right? Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Leah was a prophet. She knew how to multiply. Yaakov had 4 wives. And she knew he was supposed to have 12 sons. So if he had 4 wives, 3 times 4. So when she had son number 4, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, she said, Apam oidet Hashem. I'm praising God, I have more than I deserve. So Leah is defining what it means to be a Jew. Whatever I have in life, it's more than I deserve. So no matter what tribe you come from, you're a Yehudi. Whatever Hashem gives me, I thank you, it's more than I deserve. Now look at the next verse. Asher hoglo mirushalayim im hagola asher haglotam Yechanya melech Yehuda asher heglo Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel. Talk about current events. Unbelievable. Chapter 2, verse 6. You want to read that slowly? There's a word that keeps popping up there. Chapter 2, verse 6.
Who had been exiled from Jerusalem.
Exiled from Jerusalem.
Along with the exiles.
Again exile.
Who had been
Exiled, again exile.
Jonah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had exiled.
What's with this exile, Sarah? Nochamul exile, and Nochamul I get the picture. He was exiled. Ashahaglo once, Imagola twice, Ashaglosa exiled. Ashahaglo 4 times in the one verse, Masha, it tells us that Mordechai was in exile. Well, thank you very much. I know he was in exile. He didn't belong in Persia. He belonged where? In Pisgat Zev. So why keep repeating? Says the Vilna Gaon. He saw the Jews were getting too comfortable in Babylon, Long Island, and in Florida, and in Poland. He kept reminding them, you Jews are in exile, even in Babylon and Lakewood. Don't get too comfortable in Poland or in Florida. He kept repeating, remember, we're in exile, we're in exile, we're in exile. Some Jews forget that. They get too comfortable.
That's actually happening in the United States.
They're getting too comfortable. He kept reminding them, a killjoy, you're in exile, you're in exile. Look at these beautiful homes in Flatbush and Borough Park. You think you're in exile. Palaces. Golden, you know, in Manhattan Beach. Do they remember they're in exile? And the Vilna Gaon says he kept crying. That's what's called Ish Yemini. Says the Vilna Gaon, the Apostle can tell him, Im eshkach Yerushalayim tishkach Yemini. If I forget Jerusalem, I'll forget my right hand. He kept saying, don't forget Jerusalem, guys, not even in Lakewood. So he's called Ish Yemini. If I forget Jerusalem, Psalm 137, Tishkach Yemini, he said. A lone voice crying in the wilderness, like Rameh Kahana, Shem Yocham Dovai. The Jews getting too comfortable. Can you imagine the Jews in Poland? They said, gee, maybe we don't belong here. Gee, maybe we don't belong here. Look at the headlines today. Golda, well, thank you very much. What gave you that idea, huh? What gave you that idea? Now, I got to end with this from Rav Soloveitchik. Rabbi Abrams, I know Rav Soloveitchik, you were a Talmud of his. Now, he makes an amazing observation in the Megillah. Got to look inside over here, Yehuda. The Megillah, it's in, it's, how do you know, chapter 4, verse 15. Chapter 4, verse 15. Chapter 4, 15. Vatomer Esther, Loshel Mordechai. Actually, verse 16. Chapter 4, 16. You want to read that slowly, Avraham? Slowly. Tell me if there's a problem with that verse.
In English.
In English.
Go assemble all the Jews to be found at Shushan and fast for me.
And?
Do not eat or drink for 3 days.
1 second. Isn't that redundant? If you fast, I know. What does it mean to fast? Stand on your head and spit nickels? Fast for me and don't eat and drink. Now, isn't that redundant? There are no extra words in the Bible. Tzumu alai, fast for me. And oh, by the way, don't eat and drink. Well, gee. Avraham, what does it mean, latzom? Latzum, doesn't it mean what? Don't eat and drink.
I mean, really, for...
Isn't it redundant?
No, it's a day and night, not like our fast today where we start...
No, but everybody knows that a fast means don't eat and drink.
Oh, yeah.
You tell me, tzumu alai, fast for me 3 days. The words don't eat and drink are redundant. Everybody knows what it means to fast. Fast 3 days. You don't know, I'll talk about this too. Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal, I heard this on a tape. One of his Yiddish tapes. Wow. Someone in presence of mind in the early 50s to take a tape recorder into the... It looked like a suitcase.
I remember the
giant spools. And someone made little cassettes out of them. So he asked this question. He says that the word sumu, the root in Hebrew is tzadi mem hey, which means to braid together. Ask anyone who speaks Hebrew. Lasso tzama, tzadi mem hey, means to unite and braid together, tie together. Braid together. So it's not redundant. The purpose of not eating and drinking is not to go on a diet. It's come together. If we're all hungry and thirsty, we can feel each other's pain and discomfort. Tzumu alai. The Jews were, Haman said, Am echad mefuzar and meforad. We're a fractured, split people. That's what Haman said, mefuzar and meforad, fractured and divisive. So, Esther said, Tzumu alai laso tzama, braid and come together. And by not eating and drinking, we feel each other's discomfort. It'll help us braid together. So it's not redundant, Golda.
Right.
The great Baal Soloveitchik. Tzom, which we translate fast, really, look in the Hebrew dictionary, really comes from the word tzadi memhei, which means to braid together. Yes?
Is it on Yom Kippur that people that we wish each other easy fast? Because we feel each other's same easy
Very meaningful fast.
or meaningful fast.
Not easy, meaningful. Sunday we have a shiur, why Mashiach did not come after Purim. All the Jews became Haredi. And yet Mashiach didn't come. The question is why not? So Chabad says because the Rebbe was not born yet. But I'll give you the real answer Sunday at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Good job.
Wednesday at 3:45.
Yeah, we have next Thursday. There's no class because it's
Wednesday's
Purim.
class.
We have a special class on Wednesday in honor of Tanis Esther at 3:45. Esther's dilemma: salvation through sin. That's Wednesday 3:45. Next Thursday there's no class because it's Purim. Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Wednesday.